Well, hello, welcome to Lent for Everyone for day 31. As we continue these stories in the Gospels, these parables leading up to Jesus' crucifixion, he shares this teaching of one that we're a little bit more familiar with, possibly about the giving of the talents. The talent not being about a particular gift or skill that someone has, but actually a denomination of money at the time, right? So he gives one person 5 talents, and that person doubles it up, gives another one 2, and that person also doubles the talent, and he gives another one of the servants, and when he comes back, he's angry with the one who hasn't done anything with his talent but bury it in the sand. And N.T. Wright asks a good question, which is, how would the first hearers have heard this? He asked that question really well, and in ways I think a lot of us as 21st century Christian people don't always ask. And so he asks that question, and he makes it clear that the original audience would have understood this as about God as the master and Israel as the servants. So Israel is the servant, and the question is, are they going to be the servant that has had 5 talents and that doubled the efforts and that took the things like the temple and the law that they had been given, or were they going to be like the servant who only had 1 and who buried it and did nothing to further God's kingdom on this earth, right? Jesus' accusation to his contemporaries continually is that they are the one who's been given 1 talent, and what he is coming to do is to kind of bring that judgment into play. The second way of reading it, though, and one that isn't inappropriate, it's just not how the original would have fully intended, is that this also has to do with us, right? And it's about us utilizing the gifts that God has given to us. The hard part when it comes to thinking about calling or vocation for a lot of us is, what is my calling? How do I think about that? I preached a sermon series on this a few years ago about vocation and calling, and I think it was one of the more profound series I've gotten a chance to study for and think about. But this idea that beyond people being called to ministry and stuff, that being called is a difficult thing for us to understand. And yet each of us has been given these talents and gifts of God, and God is calling us to use them for his kingdom and his glory. And the hope, right, is that when he returns, whenever Jesus returns, that we'll be found like the servant who has invested his talents. I pray that each of us would be, and we'd be asking those ways in which, how do we invest those talents now in this strange time? What does that look like for us? How do we have grace with ourselves in this time, and yet find ways that God is calling us to serve? God bless you this day.